Hi, this is Marty with your word of encouragement. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about fear. I know that we've been going through quite a scare here in the Dallas area with the Ebola issue, and that happens to be the hospital where my son works. And I know as a mom that it's very easy to get into fear. He's not in the area where those particular problems are going on, but still, as a mother, you don't want your child in those kind of places. And so I've had to work and deal with myself a little bit about getting into fear, and I had to trust God with him and know that God's going to watch over him. I know that we'd like to think that bad things will never happen to us, but they do. How do you trust God when there's fearful things going on all around you? How do you not fall way to fear? You know what it takes? It takes blind faith, it takes trust, and it takes having a history of trusting God when you are in a fearful situation. That's how we begin to build our faith towards something that we're not used to doing. In Isaiah 41:10 it says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and I will help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That's hard to do at times, but it is what God wants us to trust in, His word that He's going to be with us. In 1 John 4:18 it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear," because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears has not yet been made perfect in his love. God really does not want us to be afraid of anything. When God speaks to us, it's always peacefully, even if He tells us something that we don't want to hear. For those of you who don't feel confident that you hear from God, sometimes that even can be fearful in itself. But when God speaks and He leads us and shows us something, it's always with peace. He is not a God that functions in fear, and we should not be a people who function in fear. And if our trust has been made good and perfect in love, we won't fear. Mother Teresa writes in her book, she says, she was praying fervently for something and she wasn't feeling like she was getting an answer. And finally, she concluded, she said, "Lord, it's enough that I know that you know." And that's kind of where we have to get. It's enough that we know that He knows. And then after that, you just simply trust. I know I've had to work on this in so many areas of my life. Going into the prison system, one of the last classes that I did inside, there was a couple of guys who walked into the class, and it's a big deal to have tattoos when you're in the prison system. So they had tattooed the whites of their eyes bright red. And I remember looking at them, and of course you can't help but look at them. They look a little intimidating, and I just thought, Lord, they look kind of demonic, and I thought it was going to be a distraction, but it really wasn't, because as I look down and I'm looking at the words on my sheet and I'm thinking, how in the world do words change people like this? And God says, just trust me that you are right where I want you. And I did. And we had a great class, and it was not intimidating. And both of the guys that had their eyes that way smiled on their way out and said, "Thank you." And I said, "You're very welcome." We can go in fearful situations and do things that we think we're not called to do. And God is with us, and we do them perfectly. I want to encourage you, don't be in fear. Trust God. Build your faith. He's with you. It's enough that we know that He knows.